everyone, and welcome to Metagame Mastery, where it's not just about what the card does, but how it impacts the game. Where the Spark Preview season is finally winding down, and we're getting to see amazing cards, such as the new Nissa, a new Domri, and a whole new God card. If you enjoy this content, click that like button, and be sure you're subscribed to our network so you get access to all our latest videos. Without further ado, big time! Go time! Let's go. Crunch Wrangler is 2 CMC, 1 colorless, and a green for a 1/2 human warrior with trample. Whenever a creature with power 4 or greater enters the battlefield under your control, put a +1/+1 counter on him. So this guy is on his own is not all that impressive, but in the right deck, you're going to see that there's a lot of support for him in limited for him to get out of control real fast. Raging Crunch is 3 CMC, 2 colorless, and a red for a 4/3 beast. It cannot attack alone, but it can block alone. And being a 4/3, 4/3 is really good curve, and I didn't mean to be as punny as I just was there. Regardless, this is a really solid card for limited. Chain Whip Cyclops is 5 CMC, 4 colorless, and a red for a 4/4 Cyclops warrior. You can pay 3 colorless and a red, and target creature can't block this turn. So this card is absolutely great in limited. You're getting a 4/4 for 5. That's not amazing, but he's a great mana sink late game to help you push through damage and finish an opponent off. Overall, still really solid in your draft and sealed decks. Thundering Ceratok is 5 CMC, 4 colorless, and a green for a 4/5 Rhino with trample. When it enters the battlefield, other creatures you control gain trample until end of turn. Once again, you're getting a 4/5, which is a pretty sizable body for 5 mana, slightly below curve, but it does have the advantage of not only having trample, but it gives trample to your other creatures. It's going to be a solid pickup in limited. And here it is, without further ado, the newest God card, Ilharg the Raised Boar. He's 5 CMC, 3 colorless, and 2 red for a 6/6 legendary boar god with trample. Whenever he attacks, you put a creature card from your hand onto the battlefield tapped and attacking. Return that creature to your hand at the beginning of your next end step. When he dies or is put into exile for the battlefield, you may put him into his owner's library for third from the top. This card's amazing. You're paying 5 mana for a 6/6 trample. That in of itself is great. It's a god card that is not particularly vulnerable to exile. Exile still puts him right back at the top of the deck. So that doesn't hurt you either. Overall, this card's outstanding, and there are so many great interactions. Being able to get your enter the battlefield effects every single turn in limited, in standard, in commander, anywhere you could think of. This thing is going to be an absolute bomb. In fact, some of the obvious enter the battlefield effects that you can get every single turn while this is in play is repeatable Goblin Chain Whirler or repeatable Jade Light Ranger. But if you wanted to get a little bit fancier, you could throw in something like repeatable Demanding Dragon or End Raised Forerunners. But if you want to get really techy, I think being able to put Siege Gang Commander into play every single turn or Hostage Taker every single turn could get nuts real fast. Domri's Ambush is 2 CMC, a red, and a green for a sorcery. Put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control. That creature deals damage equal to its power to target creature or planeswalker you don't control. So this is good in limited. It's completely one-sided. Of course, it depends on your board state, but you're getting a lasting buff on said creature, and it deals damage without giving the creature the ability to deal damage back. The fact that it's a sorcery speed does limit it a little bit, but for only 2 mana, this is a fine pickup. Domri, Anarch of Bolus, is 3 CMC, 1 colorless, red and a green for a legendary planeswalker with a starting loyalty of 3. Creatures you control get +1/+0. And he has a +1 ability, add a red or a green to your mana pool. Creature spells you cast this turn can't be countered. And he has a -2 ability, target creature you control fights target creature you don't control. So overall, this is a pretty good planeswalker. His static ability affects every creature you have in play right away, allowing you to push through additional damage the turn he hits the board. He makes it so that you get additional mana ramp, and on top of that, he makes it so that your creature spells can't be countered every single turn while he's in play. That's an absolute control nightmare. And lastly, depending on your board state, he can protect himself by allowing you to use your creatures as a form of removal. Overall, I like this guy a lot. Living Twister is 3 CMC, 2 red and a green for a 2/5 elemental. You could pay 1 colorless and a red, discard a land card from your hand, and he deals 2 damage to any target. You could also pay a green, return a tapped land you control to its owner's hand. This guy is outstanding. He's kind of a mini Borborygamos Enraged. And in limited, what you're looking at is getting a 2/5 for 3. That's solid on its own. With, if you're getting into the late game, you're starting to get flooded, you can turn all the excess land into potential removal, or just start chipping away at your opponent's life total to finish him off. You could even pull those lands off the battlefield. This guy's great. I don't foresee him getting any standard play, but on top of everything else, he's going to be outstanding in Commander. He's going to slot right into Omnath, Locust of Rage decks. He's going to slot right into Lord Windgrace decks. And of course, my personal favorite, the legend that got me into Commander, Borborygamos Enraged. This guy's outstanding. I'm going to love picking this card up. He also has a really interesting card interaction in Standard with Treasure Map, a card that you already play and a lot of decks out there, sees a lot of use. But once you've got it flipped into Treasure Cove, he allows you to bounce it back to your hand when you run out of treasure tokens and restart the process all over again, getting additional value off of this card. Nissa's Triumph is 2 green mana for a sorcery. Search your library for up to 2 basic forest cards. If you control a Nissa Planeswalker, instead search your library for up to 3 land cards. Reveal those cards, put them into your hand, and then shuffle your library. So what you're looking at is a land tutor that gives you card advantage. But if you have Nissa in play, this could get nuts. You could get, say, for example, all 3 Tron lands. There's a variety of land-based combos that you could pull in Commander. I think that in limited, this will be fine at best in a green heavy deck. In Standard, I don't know that this will see any play, but it becomes an instant staple in Commander decks for Nissa Vastwood Seer, where you're going to have Nissa Planeswalker in play on a pretty regular basis, essentially bringing Tron into Commander. Awakening of Vitu Ghazi is 5 CMC, 3 colorless, and 2 green for an instant. Put 9 +1/+1 counters on target land you control. It becomes a legendary 0/0 elemental creature with haste named Vitu Ghazi. It's still a land. Holy crap. I'm paying 5 mana for a 9/9 with haste. That's really good. Not only is that really good, but you could put the 9 +1/+1 counters on top of a land that already has +1/+1 counters or base stats. This is outstanding. Now, mind you, if it already has the base stats on it, it'll switch it back to a 0/0 when you play this card. But if it has the ability to gain new base stats, maybe through an activated ability like Manlands, this is especially nuts. In Commander, I'm looking forward to pairing it with Inkmoth Nexus, becoming a 10-10 flying infects. So sick. Instant kill. Nissa, who shakes the world, is 5 CMC, 3 colorless, and 2 green for a legendary planeswalker with a starting loyalty of 5. Her static ability is whenever you tap a forest for mana, add an additional green mana. Her +1 is put 3+1/+1 counters on up to 1 target non-creature land you control. Untap it. It becomes a 0/0 elemental creature with vigilance and haste that's still a land. And her -8. You get an emblem with lands you control have indestructible. Search your library for any number of forest cards and put them onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle your library. This card is so good. This may be the best Nissa ever. Obviously, it depends on what deck you're building, but the fact that she comes into play just as a mana doubler is amazing. Her +1 ability is going to interact really well with man lands, and on top of all that, her ultimate is sick in the right deck. This is a very powerful card. Dred Horde Twins is 4 CMC, 3 colorless, and a red for a 2/2 zombie jackal warrior. When it enters the battlefield, mass 2. Zombie tokens you control have trample. So the reason why I'm showing this card real quick is because while you're technically getting 4 power and 4 toughness across 2 bodies on the battlefield for 4 mana, that's really not going to make a huge impact on the game on turn 4. So in limited on its own, I just feel like it doesn't do enough. The only reason I would run this card is if I'm deep into the amass strategy. Well, that's it for today. If you enjoyed this content, click that subscribe button to get access to all our latest videos. This has been Metagame Mastery. Peace!